I'm gonna go ahead and record this. All right. Again, just a reminder, make sure cameras are on if you're able. So like if you're not driving, hopefully you're not, no one's in their car. But cameras, get them on so we can be practicing and getting ready, getting used to seeing all the lovely faces. I'm gonna go ahead and get started so we're not super behind. Make sure I share my sound. All right, so here's what we're gonna do for the icebreaker. I'm going to have a 2-minute timer. You're gonna get 2 minutes, and I want you to answer the question that's on here. Think carefully about this answer because you will want to have a good answer for this for an activity that we hopefully get to later. So if you could present or train or teach just one thing, right? So like if I asked you to teach me something in 5 minutes, what's that one thing? What is something you're so passionate about and that you know you could find a lot of research on that you would feel comfortable presenting on or training on or teaching if you could choose anything at all. So I'm going to start a timer. Y'all just need to jot that down, like do some thinking, like what could I find research on? What am I super passionate about? I have a great example for you that I'll show you later when we get to what we're doing. But if you could pick anything, what's one thing that you would want to do a whole presentation or training or like a lesson, like teaching on? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes for that, and then we'll move on. Okay, so try not to do that again. Good to know that's not the timer we want in the future. So we're not doing anything with that topic that you chose right now, but we'll come back to it, so keep it handy. Okay, so, whoops, no, stop. Okay, today we are talking about preparing and delivering a speech. We know our third and final big assignment is coming up, and it is a speech. So perfect timing. So what's on the agenda today? So we're going to talk about how to prepare a speech, how to deliver a speech, and the different types of speeches you can deliver. We're going to get a little practice in, and then we're going to talk about some assignments and announcements at the end. So with that, steps for preparing a speech. The first thing is your audience. You can't do a speech without having your audience members, but also how you give your speech and what your speech is over is solely dependent on your audience, right? So you need to analyze your audience. Who are they? If you're talking to a bunch of business executives, your speech is going to look a little different than if you're giving a speech to a group of friends or a group of peers. Yes, we're shaking. Okay. So you also need to look at demographics. What's the race, gender, sexuality, religion, ethnicity, and all the other things that we've talked about in the past. What does your audience look like? Because again, it will change the way you present your speech. Oh my goodness. We got a needy TA today. The second step in preparing a speech is picking your purpose, your topic, and your thesis. So, are you informing someone? Are you informing your audience of something? Are you trying to persuade them? Is this an entertaining thing? So that's your first step. What's your purpose? What are you doing with it? What's your goal with your speech? And then you need to brainstorm your topic. There's so many ways you can do this. I personally like to do mind maps or mind webs. So where I have like, if I have some sort of assignment and it's like, you need to do theme, right? I put theme in the middle and then I go out from that. What all can I talk about with theme? What's my topic here? You need to think about relevance to your audience. And then how many resources, oh my goodness, Whitney, how many resources you have as far as research is concerned. And then looking at your thesis statement, this is your 1-sentence summary of the central idea of your speech that you're either going to explain or defend. So those are the steps in preparing a speech. If I need to slow down or stop at any point, please just let me know if you're taking notes or anything. But I will have both this video and I'll put the PowerPoint up on Blackboard. Oh no, I missed it. We're going so far. So this is a like mind map or like a web that you can think about when you're doing like trying to pick your topic. So this top row is all of the topics you could choose from, right? All of the general subjects that you could pick from. So you pick dogs. Well, like, are you going to talk about breeds? Are you going to talk about owning a dog? What does that look like if you go breeds? Large, small, herding group, hounds, toy group, terriers, then going to owning, like there's training, there's buying. You could even put adoption on there. Adoption could be another whole segment. But this is kind of the layout that I was talking about with like a mind map on how you need to pick your specific topic. Okay, so research. This is a big step in preparing for a speech. There are lots of different places you can go. So libraries are a given. You might have to wait for something to come in. Cool thing about at least school libraries, like if you are at the library at UA Little Rock, if you need something like a journal or a book for research, they do interlibrary exchanges, so you can request something and they can get it from another library. It can be borrowed from another library. So libraries are a really good resource. Periodicals, I would be careful with this. So like magazines and journals, obviously like getting e-news, right, or some tabloid would not be a good resource. But there are magazines and journals that are dedicated specifically to research that's being done or studies that have happened. So definitely those are good resources. Obviously, your newspapers or books. You can look at peer-reviewed journals. The best way to find all of these, Google Scholar. So there's Google, and then there's Google Scholar. And if you don't know what Google Scholar is, we will definitely look at it at the end of class if we need to. But Google Scholar will be your best friend in research, both in this, like if you're needing to research for like your speech, or any future research that you need. Definitely a good source to keep in mind. As far as organizing, this is another step in preparing. The best way I have found are the outlines that we have been using. So if we look at these outlines here, once it pulls up, and this is on your syllabus and survival guide, so you definitely have access to this where it explains everything, but we're going to go over macro structure we're going to go in depth in a couple of class periods. But macro structure, so everything we've been doing for our other speeches, right? Having your introduction, having the attention getter, the audience or listener relevance, the speaker credibility, your thesis statement, the preview. So definitely organizing your speech and having some sort of outline is going to be the best way for you to get prepared. All right, so delivery. There are quite a few, well, I say quite a few. I believe there's 4 delivery methods that you can use. The first one is impromptu. This is when you get little to no time to prepare for a speech. So some benefits of using this kind, content and delivery are spontaneous. So that means that it can be more engaging, a more engaging speech if you're able to manage your anxiety. It also enhances the public speaking skills because you have to think on your feet. So you have to be able to like be flexible and adapt to anything that might happen. A couple of weaknesses that come with doing this kind of speech, it's typically the most anxiety inducing speech method. You don't have time to prepare, so trying to remember what you were going to do, it can definitely be a little anxiety inducing. You may get off topic or ramble. I've been in situations where I've done it, where the person speaking has done it. It happens. But that happens because they don't have a structure. They didn't have time to set up a structure to help guide them through their speech. You might also overstate or mislead the audience about how much you actually know if you're asked to speak on something that you're not familiar with. So you might overcompensate by trying to make just really overstating, like, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about. So that's a weakness of this delivery method. But let's watch an impromptu speech. See an example. Okay, so in that we see he definitely was able to engage with the audience, and he was able to think on his feet. However, I don't know if y'all saw it, but I saw a lot of rambling and overstating or misleading the audience. So definitely not always the best, right? You want to be a little bit prepared. So next,
you guys ever protect the president?
Okay. So manuscript, this type of delivery is when the speaker is reading directly from their notes or a teleprompter for the entirety of the speech. So some benefits of using this are the speaker can include precise and complex information. So like statistics and quotes, you don't have to try to remember those. because they're right there for you. The whole speech is available for reference during the delivery, so you don't have to worry about like forgetting something. It's right there. And then the speech is consistent in terms of content and time length. So like we saw with Michael Scott in that last one, he was like, it's a 45-day system, it's a 45-point system, a 45 points, 45 days, we get 45 points, we're back in business. And he just kind of rambled, and he didn't have consistency in that. Having it written down and able to read it, you have that consistency. However, when you're directly reading from a script, it can be challenging to engage the audience because you're so focused on reading the script, or reading. Now a lot, it's not so much paper as it is teleprompters. But if you are using a script, like you're looking down a lot, so you're not making that eye contact with your audience, it's hard to adapt for the reactions and the behaviors that your audience might be exhibiting. For example, if you are getting asked questions in this and you don't have the answers, or you're not at that point yet, it might be hard to adapt to those questions in that moment, because you're just not there in the script. And if you don't know your script well enough, that can be a problem. Speakers may be tempted to read the entire thing because they didn't practice enough, or they got nervous. And then again, eye contact with the audience can be there if it's practiced, but usually eye contact is not there. As well as when you're reading, it becomes very monotone, so you're not using a lot of hand gestures, or changing your voice and making it interesting for the audience. It sounds very monotone. But let's see. Sorry guys, I just gotta. Okay, sorry, I just got a text from one of my students. All right. So here's an example of, that was very loud in my ears. Here's an example of a manuscript speech.
President Roosevelt appears before a joint session of the Senate and House of Representatives, and with stern vigor delivers his war message.
He was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. Indeed, 1 hour after Japanese air squadrons had commenced bombing in the American island of Oahu, the Japanese ambassador to the United States and his colleague delivered to our Secretary of State a formal reply to a recent American message. It will
Try and talk off while I was muted. We're not gonna watch this whole thing, but you can see here he's got his papers. He's flipping through his script. He's able to do pauses and whatnot, which is nice, but which means he's rehearsed and he's practiced. He's seen this before. But definitely, if someone just like threw out a question at that point, it might be hard to adapt and change directions. Let's go to the next one. So the next one is memorized. Yes, I brought The Office up again because it's my favorite show. But this is pretty self-explanatory. It's completely memorizing a speech and then delivering it without notes. So the good thing about this is, again, you can have the precise information like statistics or quotes if you've put in the time to do the memorization. You can directly engage with audience without having to worry about referencing notes, so you don't have to keep stepping back to look at your notes. And the speech is consistent in terms of content and time length, which can be beneficial. However, it takes a lot of time to memorize an entire speech. So if you don't have the time, this might be a difficult one to do. As well as, again, like with the manuscript, woo, my pups are hitting my little table. Just like the manuscript, it can be hard to adapt to reactions that you're getting or any questions that you might get. And if you lose your place, I don't know if this has happened to y'all, when I have something memorized and I'm just talking and I'm going, and then I get like, it's gone, something distracts me or someone asks me something, or I like something interrupts my flow, I have forgotten all of it. And then I'm like, oh, I have to start over because I don't know where I was at. So this also makes it hard for like humor to come through, or things may seem like corny, or like you're trying too hard to relate to the audience because it's already pre-planned. And it can very much sound like you're just reciting it. So there are strengths, there are also weaknesses. We're gonna watch an example. This is Dwight. I don't know if y'all have seen The Office, if y'all know what I'm talking about here, but Dwight Schrute gets up and he's making a speech, and then we find out that he's just memorized it. So let's watch this one. That's my bad, friends. I forgot he had his whole thing. I think at some point he had it memorized, but that would be more of a manuscript. But he does go on to totally like do a dictator's speech. It was very funny, but I forgot he pulled out notes there. So that would be more manuscript. But if he had done that without the notes there, that would have been memorized. Oh, nope.
All right.
Keep going. All right, so the last kind, and this is what we use most in class, is extemporaneous. So that's where you memorize your structure and like your main points, but then you have keywords or key phrases in your notes that help you remember what's going to happen. So everything appears to be more spontaneous and natural. You can make it more conversational since you're using keywords or key phrases in your outline. You can include quotes or information, but you don't have to worry about remembering them. You can go back and reference them. And then you can adapt as you're going. So if someone throws out a question or does or says something you weren't prepared for, then you're able to bounce back from that. However, because it's so adaptable, it's hard to make sure that it goes the amount of time you've planned. So think of these as like teaching lessons, or like the speeches you give here. Y'all could ask me a question, and it could be a great question, and we have a really great discussion about it. But then because we did that, the length that I had planned for this lesson has changed. It might not be the best option if you need very precise and like exact wording. And you need to find a balance between too much content in your speaking outline, so you're not reading from it, but then you also don't want too little content because you don't want to be missing on important things. So this is what we'll be using the most of. So are there questions about the 4 types of speeches or delivering those? Sorry about that last example. I forgot that he pulled out notes, but are there any questions about these 4 types? Okay. All right. So key to delivering, regardless of what kind of speech you're giving, even the impromptu one, even if it's just like practicing for a couple of minutes, the key is to practice all like practice as much as you can. Making sure you use visuals. You need some sort of visual all the time, whether that's a PowerPoint, whether that's you show a video, you have a picture. You need some sort of visual to show in your presentation, in your speech. And then practice your tone of voice. Make sure you're not sounding monotone. Make sure you're using inflection. And then if you do have a time frame that you need to stay in, making sure you time yourself, and that you're practicing staying in that time zone. Okay, so we're gonna practice a little bit of extemporaneous / a little bit impromptu because I didn't give you a ton of time. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, we've got time. So I'm gonna give you 30 minutes. You should have that topic that you picked earlier. I want you to find any resources that you can find, any sources. So like you can use Google Scholar, you can look at newspapers, you can look at websites, like news websites, you can find books. Include some sort of visual. It does not have to be a whole PowerPoint, friends. It can be a picture or a video. And you're just gonna do like a quick 2 to 3 minute presentation of your topic. I wanna show you what I'm talking about. I was asked to do this presentation. I was asked to teach a 5-minute mini lesson on anything I wanted in one of my meetings. I'm going to show you that mini lesson. So I had not a ton of time to go find a bunch of examples of things, find research, and make a presentation. For those of you who don't know, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, I love true crime. I listen to all the podcasts. I like to read the books. I watch the true crime. Like I watch the ID channel. I love it. So I thought it would be funny to teach a mini lesson. This was with a bunch of teachers, not to students, how not to get murdered. So if any of you have listened to Crime Junkie or My Favorite Murder, that's where all of these rules come from. But my presentation was called Be Weird, Be Rude, Stay Alive. Why is it important to know what to do? Well, one, have you seen all the documentaries that are happening? Hello, they're everywhere. This happens all the time. And it can happen with anyone. If y'all don't know, that's Gabby Petito with her boyfriend who probably absolutely definitely killed her. So like it's super important to know what to do because it happens everywhere and it could be someone who you think you're really close with. You want to avoid the Ted Bundys. So make an If I Go Missing file. Make sure you have all your usernames and passwords to all your socials, your phone information, like everything. Stay out of the forest. You don't need to go hiking by yourself. That's a terrible idea. Like, you never know what could happen. Even if no one murders you, what if you fall over? Don't go camping by yourself. Again, terrible idea. And don't follow the strange men who think they're like who claim to be photographers into the forest. Stay out of the forest. And then pepper spray first, apologize later. Go buy some pepper spray. Don't be afraid to use it, right? And then I gave them a quick quiz. It was really funny. It was not a serious thing at all, but that's what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be that topic or it doesn't have to be funny. Like y'all take your time on this. I'm going to give you 30 minutes to just kind of create something. You can go off camera for this. But make sure you're in ear range so that I can call you back at that 30-minute timer. All right. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go ahead and pause the record.
It's awesome. Since everything is awesome, I would love to teach people how to build Lego sets all day long. Who wouldn't, right? I mean, first of all, they're fun. I mean, who doesn't enjoy playing with Legos? I mean, I think every generation has touched a Lego set and can immediately relate to being 5, 6, 7 years old with viewing a Lego. They can also, it inspires creativity in children. So not only should you build a Lego, build Lego with somebody, preferably somebody you want to inspire to build stuff. Also, they can be very, very, educational. shoot, I forgot where I put the picture. I had a picture, but anyway, for this, but they can, these Lego sets now, you can build them and they can build all kind of little machines. So that's why it would be, I think that would be the best job ever, to be able to teach people how to build Lego sets all day.
All right, awesome. Yeah, that's part of that is like when you're not totally prepared, haven't had a ton of time to prepare, is like, where did I put the thing that I needed to show? But thank you, Jacob. I love it. Let's hear from a couple of more and then let's hear from a couple more and then we'll wrap up for the day.
Does anyone want to learn about insects, I guess? Because that's what I have. Okay.
Let's hear it.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can. Or at least I can.
Okay. So the subphylum Hexapoda, which basically means 6 feet, is under arthropods, and Hexapoda is probably my favorite phylum. There's other phylums, but like Arachnida, which is spiders, scorpions, I absolutely hate those. Hexapoda is pretty neat. We got honeybees on the side. They have a tracheal system, and they don't breathe through their mouths or anything like that. They have spiracles, which are basically like these little holes in their exoskeleton that they take in air. They have an open circulatory system, which means they don't have blood like we do. They have hemolymph, which is mostly water. They have a nervous system and complex sensory organs. They have chitinous exoskeletons. If you've ever stepped on a roach, I hope you haven't, you'll hear this disgusting crunch. That's because they have that chitinous exoskeleton. They have a excretory system with Malpighian tubules. Tubules obviously means tubes. They use that to regulate their hemolymph since they don't have a closed circulatory system. Many of them have wings. They were the first to develop wings, so they could exploit many different environments. And then with the exoskeleton, they don't have to worry about drying out like a mollusk would, like a gastropod, like a snail. They have or exhibit metamorphosis. There's different types. You have polymetabolous, which is like a fly or a butterfly. It'll completely change its form. You have hemimetabolous, which would be like a dragonfly. They go from eggs to nymphs to dragonflies. It's not like a drastic change like a butterfly. You have ametabolous, which honestly is pretty much what we do. It's basically something small growing into something big. Silverfish do that pretty much. They don't really have much change other than size. They eat a whole lot of things. Plants, animals do. Decaying matter, just pretty much everything. They're all over the world. And that's pretty much it. Oops.
I had no idea about any of those things, so I appreciate it. Do you know how to stop sharing your screen? There we go. That was impressive. I did not know many of those things. That's probably because I stopped taking science in my senior year of high school. That was the last time I took a college science class. So, all right. Hold on to these because I do want to come back to them just to hear. I didn't want y'all to do all that work and not be able to hear it. Or if you would rather just like share it with me, if you did it on like a Google slide or a Google Doc or something, you can share it with me. But I do want you to hang on to those because I might bring them back to practice like just this public speaking forum. So hang on to them if you didn't get to present today. I'm going to go, excuse me. Rude. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is fine. Let me go back to our lesson. No. Okay, so some assignments and announcements. Oh my goodness. Your interpersonal conflict communication paper is due this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. I am almost done grading the positive comm assignments. So no later than tomorrow, and I'll definitely be putting that midterm grade in tomorrow. I am sorry, I'm a little behind on that. All of that happened at the same time as the first 9 weeks ending, and that was just a lot of grading. I'm a little behind. I'm getting caught up now. Some of you had really good thoughts and really good ideas, but you might have missed a couple of things, like formatting it in a formal writing style. So you more just like, instead of full sentences or complete sentences, it was more of just like definition here. So it was more, it was not as formal. So if you did something along those lines where I couldn't give you full points because you were missing some important criteria, you'll get an email from me about revisions, and I'll give you that opportunity to revise that. It's just a couple of things that I've noticed where it was like, oh, we didn't really define here, or this wasn't written in a formal writing style. It was more of just a like ethical implication, this definition, this. So you'll get an email from me within the next couple of days, and I'll give you that opportunity to revise and just make up some of those points. So just be on the lookout for that, and I'll tell you specifically what I'm looking for in that. Your original grade will go in to the midterm, but I'll go back and change that so it won't affect your final grade. So you'll have those opportunities to get that made up. And then make sure you're paying attention to the course calendar for all due dates. I think there was whatever service option you're picking was due today on Blackboard. So if we look at the course, that's not the course calendar. If we look at the, oh my gosh, where is it? Here it is. If we look at the course calendar, I want to say it was the service option. Is today the 21st? Today is the 21st. Maybe if it loads. Okay, let's go to the 21st. Or not. Stay in September. That's fine too. Okay. So yeah, at the end of the day, so sometime today before today is over, that service inventory worksheet, which is just telling me which option you're picking, is due on Blackboard. The link is in, oh, was it Anthony or Alexander? I don't remember. One of you reminded me that it was in the wrong spot. Ah, yes, Anthony let me know that I had placed the link in the wrong spot. So it is in the right spot. It is in week 9. It was originally in week 11, 12, and 13 or something like that. It is back in the right spot. So if you go unit 3, weeks, I want to say 9 and 10, it's there for you to submit that. But it's just one of those worksheets. So whichever option you're picking. So whether that's you're actively volunteering, you're doing past service, or you're exploring options for you to find some sort of organization to work with in the future. Okay. Those are all of my announcements and assignments. I'm going to stop sharing. If you want to look at not Google Classroom, that's high school. If you want to look at Google Scholar and kind of get some keys on that, more than happy to show you all of that, and you can hang out for a little bit. If you have any questions, hang out. Other than that, though, y'all are free to go. So I will see you next week. Just make sure you're looking out for those emails from me. And also tomorrow is that conversation table. So if you're going to that, make sure you're using that link that I sent you to sign up and to get the Zoom link to go. But
I could use people. Last week we had 3.
okay. Anthony, I'll have to look at the worksheets, man. I'll be honest, I don't even know which ones I'm looking at or that
Yeah,
I have in my head.
I saw a few worksheets. It wasn't just like one, so I was like, which one?
Yes. Turn in the worksheet for the one that you're doing, because you're not going to do all of them, right? You're not doing, does that make sense? You're not doing, let's see, internet submission link, the service inventory worksheet, service experience reflection. Okay, so the preparation worksheet is different from the inventory worksheet. Like, so each one of these are for the different options. So the service inventory worksheet, the service experience reflection, those are all different for depending on what option you're picking. Now, I'm not looking at those, but just based off of the names of each one. So your outline is not a part of the worksheet. Your outline is going to be a separate thing that you turn in, as are the slides. So like whatever your visual aid is, that's going to be a separate thing. Let me see if I can find the worksheets and look at those real quick. Sorry guys, there's a lot of papers in this. Okay. And let me look at Blackboard and see what I'm actually asking for. Okay, what I'm asking for tonight is the option that you're picking. So you're going to be looking for, if you look at the preparation worksheet submission link that's on, like that's in Google, no, not Google Classroom, we're in Blackboard. There are links to the worksheets that you need. So that would be like the verification form if you're doing the well, hang on. What is that? What did you just send me? Jacobs.
The preparation worksheet for interpersonal communication paper. Nope. That's interpersonal communication paper. But that's in the same area, right? That same thing.
It's all, yeah. So I might have, let's pause on this. I might have, I'm not gonna lie, I got this email from Anthony. And I did this while I was talking to high schoolers, like moving things around. I might have moved the wrong thing. So y'all hold off. I'll send you an email here in a second when I have figured out, I have confused myself here. So let me get myself straightened out and figure out what I'm missing where and how I just confused myself. And I will send y'all an email with a really great explanation on what's actually due. And you can turn it in tomorrow and I won't count it. I won't count that against you because I have managed to confuse myself here. So let me solve that problem after we hop off of here, and then I will send a big class email with a thorough explanation, and then feel free to email me back if I don't make any sense. But if that was your only question, y'all are free to go. If you do want help with Google Classroom, no, oh my gosh, not Google Classroom. That's not what we're doing. Google Scholar. If you need help with Google Scholar, if you've never used it before, you want to look at it, stick around and we can do that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I'm volunteering. It's called Creep and Crawl. And I think it's nonprofit, but I'm volunteering for 6 hours on Saturday. So I wanted to know, could I use that one for my service?
Can you send me some information about it so I can make sure it matches all of the criteria? And then
Mhm.
if it does, print off that service on the option 1, print off that like service verification form, or I can print it off and sign it and then send it to you, like send a PDF to you for you to print off, and then you will need to get that verification. But can you send me more information about it so that I can just double check, make sure everything's good? And if it's all good, then yeah, that I'm totally cool with that. I just need to see more details about it. So, but yeah,
Okay.
definitely send
Thank
that
you.
over to me. Yeah, no problem. Are we all here for Google Scholar? Are we all hanging around for Google Scholar? Okay.
No, I got a question about
Okay.
volunteership. Now,
Mhm.
outside of my military career, I don't have a lot of volunteer stuff. But
Mhm.
while I was in the military, we were deployed to help fight forest fires in Montana. That was kind of like a humanitarian relief effort. Would that qualify? Because I mean, because we had to go in and pretty much cut like fire breaks and stuff like that, because
Mhm.
there's just no way that the number one, I guess we could say, cash crop in that area, or number one, was for the forestry
Mhm.
industry, and they just couldn't work. And so, but that
So
was
was that something you were like assigned to do? Like you didn't have an option, or you like signed up to do it and it was like a volunteer?
yeah, I was assigned to do it. So I guess that wouldn't be
So
volunteering.
you were kind of voluntold
You
to do it.
voluntold, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Let me get back to you on that one. I'm gonna ask someone who's taught this class a little longer than me, if they would like allow that, because you were told, but also like it kind of fits in with what we're doing. So let me ask more questions about that. Um and I'll get back to you. It might be like Monday by the time I get back to you.
Okay. Yeah, and yeah, precisely what it was is while I was on active duty, my
Mhm.
unit came on orders for real world missions, what we called it, where we were deployed
Okay.
to help fight forest fires in Montana, as essentially what all those volunteer forestry firefighters are that go in, with
Mhm.
all the yellow shirts and green pants. We had to
Yeah,
go through all that training and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
it's essentially kind of like
Um
the same thing.
I'm gonna I'm gonna go with a maybe. I need to get more information from people who've done this assignment a little more, like my boss, and see if that falls under this, if that's a good like assignment topic. But I will definitely get back to you as quickly as possible on that.
Yeah, and another question I was wondering is, do you think it might be just too complex to like really talk about?
So you're giving a speech about this. So one thing that comes with it is if like you're using a word that we don't know, you need to like you're gonna have to define that word before
Jargon.
you can use it regularly. So if there's a lot of military jargon that might not like some of us might know what that is because we were in or we're married to or have parents who were in, but then there's going to be some who've never experienced military life in any fashion, and you're going to have to break down all of that jargon. um,
Yeah, I don't think there'd be
so
a lot of that. I was just gonna, looking at some of the questions, I was really wanted to focus on how much of an effect it had on that specific community in
yeah,
that
so
area.
it does say when you're reading the option, it says informative past service. So you'll reflect on past volunteer slash service experience you've had with a nonprofit organization. So it doesn't necessarily have to be volunteer. work, just as long as you work with a nonprofit. So my thing would be, since you were working for the military, and I don't know if they're considered a nonprofit, or was the group you were helping a nonprofit?
Yeah, there was